Have you ever had a moment when everything in your life looked perfectly fine, and yet, deep inside, something felt quietly wrong? Not sadness. Not anger. Just a soft, hollow ache you couldn't explain. You had reasons to be grateful. You had people who loved you. And still, that feeling kept returning, like a shadow that follows you even in sunlight. Here's what no one tells you: that ache has a name. It was recognized over 2,500 years ago, not as a flaw, not as a failure, but as one of the deepest truths of human experience. Today, we're going to sit with that feeling together. And by the end, you may never see it the same way again. Part 1, the ancient story that explains the ache, Buddha and the palace of everything. Long ago, in the foothills of the Himalayas, there lived a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama. He had everything. Truly, everything. His father, King Suddhodana, had made certain of it. After a prophecy at Siddhartha's birth warned that the child might one day leave the palace to seek a higher truth, the king built 3 magnificent palaces, one for each season, filled with music, beauty, servants, feasts, and every conceivable pleasure. He surrounded his son with silk and lotus flowers and the laughter of dancers. He made sure no pain, no sickness, no sign of aging or loss could ever find its way through those gilded walls. And yet, even in the middle of all that abundance, even surrounded by everything a human heart is supposed to want, Siddhartha felt it. That ache. He couldn't explain it. He had no language for it. How do you name a longing when you've been given everything? How do you admit to emptiness when you are surrounded by fullness? He couldn't. So he wandered the gardens at night, sat in silence among the roses, and wondered why joy, even when it came, always seemed to slip through his fingers like water. Then one day, a gate was left unguarded. Siddhartha stepped outside the palace walls for the first time in his life. And on that single journey through the streets of ordinary life, he saw 4 things that would shatter the world he had known. He saw an old man, bent and trembling, his youth long gone. He saw a sick man, writhing in pain, his body betraying him. He saw a corpse being carried through the street, mourners weeping behind it. And then, he saw a wandering monk. Still. Peaceful. Moving through all of it with a quietness that seemed almost impossible. Siddhartha stopped. And in that moment, something cracked open inside him. He realized, with sudden and devastating clarity, that the ache he had been carrying all his life in the palace had a cause. It wasn't ingratitude. It wasn't weakness. It was something far more fundamental. It was the truth that had been hidden behind those perfect walls. Everything changes. Everything ends. Nothing, not beauty, not health, not love, not life itself, can be held forever. And we, as human beings, spend most of our lives trying to pretend otherwise. Part 2, the word that explains your restlessness, understanding Dukkha and Anicca. The Buddha called this ache, Dukkha. It's one of those words that resists simple translation. Many people translate it as suffering, but that's only part of the story. Dukkha is subtler than that. It's the low-level discomfort that runs underneath even our happiest moments. It's the background hum of unease that makes us reach for our phones when we're bored, eat when we're not hungry, and keep chasing the next thing even when we just got what we wanted. Dukkha, the Buddha taught, has many layers. There is the obvious pain, illness, loss, grief, disappointment. These are the things we expect to hurt, and they do. But then there is a deeper layer. The suffering that comes not from pain itself, but from change. A beautiful relationship that slowly shifts. A season of life that ends before we're ready. A version of ourselves we can no longer return to. This is the pain of impermanence, and it finds us even in our most treasured moments. And beneath that, there is the subtlest layer of all, the ache that comes simply from the nature of clinging. From the way we grab hold of things, people, feelings, identities, and try to make permanent what was never meant to last. The Pali word for this impermanence is Anicca. All conditioned things are impermanent. This isn't a pessimistic teaching. Listen carefully. The Buddha wasn't saying life is bad or that joy is an illusion. He was saying something much more precise, that when we cling to joy, when we demand that good feelings stay forever, when we build our sense of safety on things that are always moving, we create suffering not as a punishment, but as an inevitable consequence. It's like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. Part 3, The Modern Person Who Couldn't Stop Chasing, a story from everyday life. Let's bring this out of the ancient world and into something you might recognize. Imagine someone, let's call her Maya. She's in her early 30s. Smart, driven, genuinely kind. From the outside, her life looks beautiful. A job she worked hard for, a relationship she cherishes, an apartment she finally decorated just the way she wanted. But Maya has a habit she's never quite examined. Every time she achieves something, every time she gets the thing she was working toward, she feels a rush of happiness that lasts maybe a day, maybe a week. And then, quietly, without warning, the ache returns. So she sets a new goal. Plans a trip. Buys something new. Texts someone she's been missing. She's not irresponsible. She's not materialistic. She genuinely believes that the next thing will be the one that finally fills that hollow space. But it never quite does. One evening, sitting alone after a dinner party that was, by every measure, a wonderful night, she notices it again. The gathering is over. The laughter has faded. The apartment is quiet. And there it is. That feeling. For the first time, instead of immediately reaching for her phone, she sits with it. What is this? She wonders. Why does it keep coming back? And in that simple act of staying, of not running, not distracting, not immediately trying to fix the feeling, something quietly shifts. She doesn't find an answer that night. But she finds something more valuable, a question worth living with. That, in Buddhist understanding, is the beginning of awakening. If this is speaking to something inside you, if you've ever sat with that quiet ache and wondered what it means, then this channel, Buddha Coha, was made for you. We explore these ancient teachings in ways that are gentle, grounded, and deeply relevant to modern life. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell, so these conversations find you when you need them most. Now, let's continue. Part 4, The Practice of Awakened Presence, Sati and the Art of Actually Being Here. So here is the question the Buddha's life points us toward. If clinging creates suffering, and impermanence is unavoidable, what do we do? The answer isn't detachment in the cold, indifferent sense. It's not about not caring, not loving, not investing in life. It's about learning to be fully here, without demanding that here lasts forever. The Buddha called this practice Sati, mindfulness. And alongside it, sampajana, clear comprehension. Sati is the quality of attention that knows where it is. Not half here, half in tomorrow. Not physically present but mentally rehearsing a conversation from 3 days ago. Truly, quietly, gently here. Sampajana is the understanding that goes deeper. Not just what is happening, but why, what is driving your response, what habit is speaking when you react, what fear is quietly steering the moment. Together, these two create something the Buddha described as awakened presence. And here is the radical truth about awakened presence. It isn't about collecting beautiful experiences or engineering a life free from difficulty. It's about the quality of how you meet whatever is happening, right now, in this ordinary, imperfect, fleeting moment. There is a Zen story that illustrates this beautifully. A student went to his Zen master and said, "Master, I have been practicing meditation for 3 years now, and I feel no closer to enlightenment. I sit every morning, I breathe, I observe, and still, my mind wanders. Still, I feel restless. What am I doing wrong?" The master poured 2 cups of tea. He handed one to the student and said simply, "Drink." The student, still waiting for the great teaching, lifted the cup mechanically, his mind full of his question. "Are you drinking?" the master asked. "Yes," the student said. "Where are you?" The student paused. He looked at the tea. Felt the warmth of the cup. The rising steam. The smell of it reaches him. "I am here," he said, slowly. "Then you are practicing," the master said. Enlightenment is not somewhere else. It is not waiting at the end of 10,000 hours of meditation. It is here, in every cup of tea you actually drink. This is Sati. This is the practice. Not the dramatic, mountaintop moment. Not the sudden vision of cosmic truth. But the steady, patient, humble act of actually showing up, to the cup, to the conversation, to the ordinary Tuesday afternoon that will never come again. Part 5. Why we run from the present, the habit of reaction. But why is this so difficult? Because the human mind is, quite literally, wired to move. To plan, to remember, to anticipate, to solve. This is not a flaw. For thousands of years, this capacity kept us alive. The problem is that we have never learned to turn it off. So instead of choosing our responses, instead of meeting each moment with the clarity of someone who is actually present, most of us are reacting. Operating on autopilot. Running programs written in childhood, shaped by old fears, old wounds, old stories about who we are and what we deserve. We snap at the people we love, not because we want to hurt them, but because something they said triggered a pattern we've been running for decades. We withdraw when we're overwhelmed, not because withdrawal serves us, but because once, long ago, it felt safe. We chase and chase and chase not because we are greedy, but because somewhere inside us lives a quiet, frightened voice that says, "You are not enough, and if you stop moving, everyone will see it. The Buddha understood this deeply. This is why he placed such emphasis not just on awareness, but on the space between stimulus and response. That space, even if it is only a single breath wide, is where freedom lives. When you feel the familiar surge of reaction rising, the irritation, the self-criticism, the urge to flee or to fight, and you choose, in that fraction of a moment, to breathe first, you are practicing something ancient and powerful. You are choosing presence over pattern, wisdom over habit, awakening over automation. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to work every time. It just has to be practiced, gently, consistently, with patience for the 10,000 times you'll forget and the 10,001 times you'll remember again. Part 6, The Two Arrows, Meeting Hardship Without Making It Worse. Now let's talk about the moments when life genuinely hurts. Because Buddhist wisdom is not about pretending that everything is fine. It is not spiritual bypass, that tendency to use peaceful-sounding words to avoid actually feeling what needs to be felt. The Buddha was extraordinarily honest about pain. He didn't dress it up or explain it away. He said simply, life includes suffering. This is the first noble truth. And it is not a cause for despair, it is a cause for compassion. He taught this through a simple and profound image that has stayed with me deeply, the two arrows. Imagine you are walking through a forest and an arrow strikes you. It hurts, intensely, undeniably. This is the first arrow. The unavoidable pain of being alive. Illness. Loss, failure, heartbreak. The moments when life does not go the way we hoped. These are real. They are not your fault. They deserve to be acknowledged. But then, almost automatically, we reach into our own quiver and shoot ourselves with a second arrow. Why did this happen to me? What is wrong with me? I should have seen this coming. I'll never be okay again. I don't deserve good things. This second arrow, the story we layer on top of the pain, the self-blame, the catastrophizing, the resistance, often hurts far more than the first. And unlike the first arrow, it is something we have power over. Not always. Not immediately. But with practice, with the gentle, patient cultivation of awareness, we can begin to recognize the second arrow the moment we reach for it. And sometimes, in that recognition, we can choose to set it down. Part 7, Right Effort, the Wise Use of Your Energy. This brings us to one of the most quietly powerful concepts in the Buddhist path, right effort. Right effort, part of the Noble Eightfold Path, is often misunderstood. Many people hear effort and think of straining, forcing, white-knuckling their way through difficulty. But Buddhist right effort is almost the opposite of that. It is the art of wise energy. Knowing where to direct your attention and where to let go. Knowing when to push gently forward and when to simply allow. Specifically, the Buddha described 4 dimensions of right effort. The effort to abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen, to notice when you're caught in a spiral of negative thinking or harsh self-judgment, and to gently redirect. The effort to prevent unwholesome states from arising, to build habits of mind that make it harder for destructive patterns to take hold. This is why daily practice matters. Not as a rule, but as a preparation. The effort to cultivate wholesome states, to actively nurture kindness, curiosity, generosity, and presence. To choose, where possible, thoughts and actions that open rather than close. And the effort to maintain wholesome states when they arise, to recognize a moment of genuine peace or clarity or connection, and to rest in it, without clinging to it, without immediately moving on to the next thing. This last one is something we rarely do. How many times have you experienced a moment of genuine joy, a sunset, a laugh with a friend, a quiet sense of rightness, and immediately started photographing it, narrating it, or planning how to recreate it? Right effort asks, what if you just stayed? Not forever. Just for a breath. Just long enough to actually receive what life is offering you in this moment. Part 8, the soft courage of seeing clearly, turning the ache into wisdom. Let's return to where we started. That quiet ache. That sense that something is missing. Here is what the Buddhist teachings offer us. Not a solution that makes the ache disappear, but something more enduring, a way of understanding it that transforms its meaning. When you feel that hollow discomfort, and you know it as dukkha, when you recognize it not as a sign of your brokenness but as the natural response of a human heart encountering impermanence, something softens. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are no longer demanding that you feel differently than you do. You are no longer chasing the next thing in the desperate hope that it will finally fill the space. Instead, you become curious. Gently, humbly curious. What is this ache pointing to? What am I holding too tightly? What is changing that I haven't allowed myself to grieve? What is this moment, right now, actually asking of me? This shift, from resistance to curiosity, from self-blame to compassion, from running to resting, is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself with thunder. It is quiet. It is small. It happens in the space of a single breath. But it is, the Buddha would say, the beginning of the path home. The Dhammapada teaches, your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts. But once mastered, no one can help you as much. And Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the most beloved Buddhist teachers of modern times, wrote, the present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all moments. Both of these, written centuries apart, point to the same truth. The life you are looking for is not waiting somewhere ahead of you. It is not hidden behind the next achievement, the next relationship, the next version of yourself. It is here. In this breath. In this ordinary, impermanent, quietly miraculous moment. You just have to be willing to arrive. Part 9, a closing meditation, sitting with what is. Before we close today, I want to offer you something to carry with you. Not a task. Not a goal. Just a gentle invitation. The next time you notice that ache, that quiet, nameless sense that something is slightly off, try this. Pause. Don't immediately reach for distraction. Breathe. One slow, conscious breath in. One slow, conscious breath out. Name it softly. This is dukkha. This is the heart's natural response to impermanence. This is not a problem to be solved. Ask with curiosity, not demand, what is here, right now, that I haven't fully allowed myself to feel? Then rest. Not in numbness. Not in indulgence. But in the simple, courageous act of being present with what is, exactly as it is, without needing it to be anything else. This is the practice. Simple. Difficult. Transformative. Not once, but again and again and again, each time you forget, each time you remember, each ordinary moment that becomes, through the light of awareness, something sacred. As we come to the end of today's journey, let these words rest in your heart. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. The Buddha. In the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. A teaching attributed to Buddhist wisdom. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. The Buddha. And one last reminder, offered with warmth. The ache you carry is not a sign that you are doing life wrong. It is a sign that you are alive, that you love, that you hope, that you feel deeply. The Buddhist path doesn't ask you to stop feeling. It asks you to feel with wisdom. To love without clinging. To hope without grasping. To live each moment as if it matters, because it does, while holding it gently enough to let it pass when it's time. You are not missing something. You are, perhaps, simply learning to be here, truly, fully, beautifully here. And that is enough. That has always been enough. If today's video touched something in you, please take a moment to like and share it with someone who might need these words. And if you haven't yet joined our community, subscribe to Buddha Coha, where every week, we explore the quiet wisdom of the Buddhist path and bring it gently into the life you're living right now. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to begin. We'll walk the path together. Until next time, breathe, be gentle with yourself, and remember, this moment, exactly as it is enough.